Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some reasons why now might be a good time to invest in Bitcoin. Right now, it is the beginning of September, September 1st, and Bitcoin is priced at approximately 58,000 US dollars. Before I get into those reasons, I'm Hunter, digital nomad who's been making money online since early 2020. And on this channel, I talk about different ways you can make money online and different investment strategies and opportunities that you can use to grow your wealth while living outside of your home country. So if that kind of content sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to the channel to get updated when I drop a new video. I do want to stress that although I do have a master's in finance and economics, I am not offering financial advice here. And I also am not a Bitcoin millionaire or anything like that. So definitely take what I'm saying here with a grain of salt. But I'm just offering, my observations and what I kind of think is going to be happening with the price of Bitcoin, at least in the medium long term, just based on what's about to happen in the coming months with the interest rate. So yeah, this video is basically, most of the reasons in the video are based on the fact that U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has recently announced that he plans to lower the U.S. interest rate in the next few months. So that should have some effect on the price of Bitcoin, and I imagine that that effect will be to push up the price of Bitcoin. So yeah, as mentioned at the time of this recording, Bitcoin is trading at about 58,000 US dollars, and it's been pretty stable all year, honestly. Since March, it's been trading kind of in between 55 to 70,000, and it's stayed pretty much in that channel over the last 6 months. But if the US interest rate gets lowered, that price is probably going to go up. At least a lot of people are thinking that. In fact, Cathie Wood, the CEO of ARK Invest, expects that, not as she doesn't expect, but she says that it's possible Bitcoin could hit 3.8 million by 2030. So, like in 5 or 6 years. I don't really think that is possible, but going from 58,000 to 3.8 million for one coin. But I guess there is certainly some bullish sentiment for Bitcoin in the coming decade. So, very first reason, if the US Fed does decide to lower the interest rate, that is going to lead to a weaker US dollar, because right now uh, countries can invest in US backed treasuries and whatnot and get a fairly high interest rate for dumping money into the United States, which pushes up the value of the US dollar. Now, if the US Fed decides to lower the interest rate, people aren't going to be making as much money, and people and institutions and governments of countries are or probably will look for other areas or financial instruments that they can park their money and get maybe a better return. So yeah, if the return on bonds are going down, US bonds are going down, investors are going to be looking for other instruments where they can put that money and have it grow at a higher rate than would be offered through these lower rated bonds. So yeah, lowering that interest rate, besides, lowering the return that investors can get when investing into US treasuries, that's also going to serve to weaken the US dollar, because people are going to want to maybe pull, especially like foreign governments and whatnot, are going to want to pull their money out of the U.S. market, out of the U.S. dollars, and transfer that money into other currencies potentially, right? And now Bitcoin is an option. Instead of having to choose another government-backed currency to invest in, foreign investors have the opportunity to just use Bitcoin as a financial investment instead of having to put that into another foreign government-backed currency like a euro or a British pound, Japanese yen, right? And with Bitcoin, investors know that there's a finite amount of these things, right? So unlike other government-backed securities or government-backed treasuries or governmental currencies, right? That are like all fiat currencies these days. They're not backed by anything. You can't print more Bitcoin, but you can print more of any government-backed security. That's how they control the monetary supply, right? So a lot more trust could be getting into investing in Bitcoin because people know that there's a finite amount of this stuff and there's no government out there that can mess with the amount of it in circulation and mess with the value, right? Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin is really just based on the amount of trust that is in Bitcoin, and over the years, more and more trust is being had for this cryptocurrency, right? Okay. Third reason here is that if the U.S. Fed, does decide to lower the interest rate, the governments use raising the interest rate to control inflation, get inflation in check, and inflation was it's been kind of raging the last few years after COVID. Now, if the U.S. decides to lower the interest rate, we've gotten inflation somewhat under control in the last months, especially this year. But if we, take the brakes off of that, the U.S. government takes the brakes off of that inflation control, maybe too early, in response to trying to get, the economy, in a good situation, get more jobs out there. If they're going to try to do that, they could also let more inflation sneak back into the market because they didn't keep it in check for long enough. And if that happens, Bitcoin is going to look very favorable for a lot of investors. Just like in the last point, if inflation, starts dropping the value of a government currency too much, in this case, in this example, the U.S. dollar, people are going to want to turn to a different form of currency to store the value of their money. And they could, as I said in the last point, they could turn to other government-backed currencies that could have the same issue, or they could turn to Bitcoin and put their money in Bitcoin, which is a finite resource. So it could potentially, and a lot of people think that it will, hold its value fairly well in those kind of markets where people are looking for a different financial medium, a different currency, a different form of monetary value to store the value of the money they have, right? So yeah, make it simple. People start losing value on the money they have in their bank account, they're going to look for, and they should look for, a different way to store that value, and Bitcoin appears to be a fairly stable and reliable option for that. Okay, last reason that Bitcoin is probably going to go up, in my opinion, is that the U.S. stock market is, so if people are divesting from bonds, they are typically looking, or investors are typically looking to put that money back into the stock market and experience growth through the stock market at that time. Well, at this time, the U.S. stock market, which is the stock market most people around the world invest into, is already at all-time highs, and it's already pretty inflated if you look at the PE ratio of what it historically is and what it is now. It is extraordinarily high. So that's where Bitcoin can come into play to be a kind of, usually there's traditionally these two assets. People are going to invest in bonds when interest rates are high. They're going to invest in stocks when interest rates are low. Now the stock market is super high already, and the interest rates on the bonds are starting to go down. So Bitcoin could offer, a good investment opportunity as like a third option now for people that want to experience growth but are not looking to, have a lower rate of return by investing in bonds, or and are, anxious or nervous about investing in the stock market because it's already so high. I mean, that's a topic for another day, talking about the investing in the stock market. I'm sure there's still some growth there, but as of right now, a lot of people are wary about investing. Warren Buffett has a bunch of cash on the sidelines because the market is so inflated right now already. So yeah, guys, those are the 4 reasons I can see Bitcoin going up. from its current price going up, a pretty good amount. What's going to stimulate it? So yeah, weaker dollar, better return than bonds potentially. Inflation is expected to pick up, and the stock market is already super inflated in historical terms. So yeah, guys, if you don't already have a broker to buy cryptocurrency and to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, I'm going to leave a link in the description below for my favorite broker, Coinbase. So yeah, you guys got to be careful with definitely with the exchange or broker that you're going to use. I previously was using BlockFi, and it seemed to be a pretty safe bet when I was using it, but during the last Bitcoin or cryptocurrency market correction, when Sam Bankman-Fried kind of screwed everybody over, BlockFi got destroyed, and all of us that had these BlockFi accounts have been waiting to get our money back for the last 2 years. I think we're going to get most of it back now, but it's taken some time and a lot of legal battles to get it. So the reason I'm saying this is because, yeah, you got to be careful with who you choose to invest into, what broker you use. I like Coinbase now because it has stood the test of time. It's considered one of the most trustworthy ones out there. It withstood the last correction. So I feel pretty safe about using this specific broker myself. So guys, whether you're a digital nomad expat like myself, or you're just interested in getting started in investing in cryptocurrency, or adding more to your current Bitcoin position, I want to wish you guys great success in your business and investing endeavors, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.